A silent deal was struck that changed the flow of millions across the globe. A shadowy billionaire, a desperate royal, and a secret financial empire that operated completely under the radar. For years, they used the ultimate golden key to infiltrate global superpowers, leveraging confidential government secrets to secure unimaginable fortunes from China to the deep pockets of the Middle East. Everything you think you know about high-level corruption is just the surface, and by the end of this video, the final chilling text message exposed between these two men will completely change how you view the elite forever. If you love uncovering the untold stories the mainstream media tries to hide, hit that subscribe button and join our inner circle, because the secrets we're about to unearth are just getting started. It all started with a bronze monument, a heavy cloud of cigar smoke, and a secret pact that would open the doors to the world's most guarded fortunes. In 2005, on a sprawling, ultra-exclusive private estate called Haviland Hall in Guernsey, a bizarre life-size monument was unveiled. It marked the definitive beginning of an alliance that insiders say went far deeper than mere friendship. The man captured in that bronze cast was David Rowland, a financier with a highly controversial checkered business history. Beside him stood a prominent member of the House of York, a man who possessed the one thing Rowland's billions couldn't buy: absolute, unquestioned diplomatic access. Author and investigator Tom Bauer, in his best-selling exposé, notes that suspicions immediately erupted that these two men were financially in league, setting a dangerous blueprint into motion. This wasn't just a wealthy companionship, it was the birth of a devastating corporate weapon. Rowland, nicknamed Spotty by his rivals, needed a golden key to bypass international borders, while the cash-strapped royal desperately needed a massive influx of capital to sustain an incredibly lavish lifestyle. Rumors indicate that a strategy was devised to practically rent out British prestige to the highest bidder. The plan was simple: use official state trade visits as a flawless cover to scout multi-million-dollar private investments. But neither of them realized just how quickly their shadow operation would expand. They were playing a high-stakes game, completely blending official government duties with private financial gain. Rowland began appearing on exclusive delegations, sitting at tables where private citizens were never meant to pull up a chair. According to official records, Rowland was brought along to a critical meeting of the Middle East World Economic Forum in 2008 at Sharm el-Sheikh, where the duo dined directly with the president of Kazakhstan. It is claimed they were quietly building an elite network, positioning themselves as the ultimate intermediaries between Western influence and foreign power players. They felt completely untouchable, wrapped in the protective shield of a historic title. But their first major test run in an oil-rich territory was about to push the boundaries of international protocol. And what happened behind closed doors in Azerbaijan would leave a trail of leaked data that changed everything. Leaked data from the heart of Eurasia proved that a royal title could be bought, leveraged, and weaponized for millions. In late 2008, the shadow operation moved deep into the oil-rich territory of Azerbaijan. David Rowland and his son, Jonathan, tag-teamed with Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor on an official high-level trip. On paper, it was a diplomatic mission to foster international relations. In reality, it was a hunting ground for private capital. Shortly after landing, Jonathan Rowland fired off a highly confidential email to a powerful relative of the Azerbaijani president's wife. The recipient ran Pasha Holding, the largest, most dominant conglomerate in the entire country. The contents of that leaked message sent shockwaves through investigative circles. Jonathan explicitly boasted that they were operating as exclusive business advisors to Andrew. He openly admitted they were traveling globally with him to strike massive private investment deals. They were utilizing a unique taxpayer-funded network to gain access that no ordinary billionaire could ever buy. Local media reports suggest that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor actually held his own hidden business interests within Azerbaijan and neighboring Kazakhstan. The shadow network was functioning flawlessly, and the financial rewards were staggering. According to sources, Pasha Holding quietly funneled a massive $5 million into a specialized investment fund. This fund wasn't held in a standard institution, it was controlled entirely by the Rowlands. Even more intriguing, the money was funneled directly into Bank Haviland, a highly secretive private bank set up by David Rowland specifically to manage elite wealth. They had successfully turned British state diplomacy into a highly lucrative private cash machine. But Azerbaijan was merely a proof of concept, a sandbox to test their limits. The true jackpot lay waiting in the ultra-wealthy capitals of the Middle East, where a plot to build a banking empire would involve the King of Bahrain himself. Imagine using an official government diplomatic trade mission to secretly pitch a private, tax-free banking empire directly to foreign kings. In September 2009, that is exactly what allegedly happened when a high-profile delegation arrived in Saudi Arabia. Officially, the trip was meant to support UK university vice-chancellors, but behind closed doors, a far more lucrative plot was unfolding. According to sources, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was actively lobbying the King of Bahrain to help the Rowlands launch a massive Middle Eastern banking operation. The twist? The royal envoy himself was secretly lined up to receive a direct financial stake in the entire business. To make the operation seamless, they even utilized a man on the inside. They approached Steve Harrison, a former assistant private secretary to the royal, who was now working as the executive director for the Bahrain Economic Development Board. Rumors indicate that Harrison was the perfect bridge to turn state influence into private profit. In leaked communications, the Rowlands boasted that the royal visitor was personally facilitating the entire project. The elite connection was working beautifully, bypassing every standard regulatory hurdle in the book. By mid-November, the plan reached a boiling point. The official court circular recorded an arrival in Riyadh on November 14th under the banner of international trade and investment. Instantly, Jonathan Rowland fired a high-stakes pitch to Prince Sultan bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, the second son of King Salman. Jonathan openly suggested the Saudi prince become their partner, boldly stating that they advised the British royal exclusively on all business matters and acted as intermediaries between global royal families. It is claimed they promised opportunities that no other financial institution on earth could execute. But while the Middle East looked like their ultimate jackpot, an upcoming trip to China would take this shadow operation to a terrifying new level, involving the highest levels of global energy deals and stolen government intelligence. Handing classified government intelligence over to a private billionaire might sound like a movie plot, but insiders say it was just another day at the office for this shadow partnership. In March 2010, the operation shifted to Beijing, piggybacking on a staggering $35 billion state gas deal between British multinational BG Group and the China National Overseas Oil Corporation. Officially, it was a massive win for British trade. Behind the curtain, however, the Rowlands were orchestrating a highly calculated corporate heist. Leaked records reveal that David Rowland instructed the royal's private secretary, Amanda Thirsk, to forcefully insert a private meeting into the official state itinerary. The target was Louis Chung, the president of Ping An, the largest insurance company in China. Rowland openly told his associates that Ping An would be a perfect partner for their private financial network. According to sources, the high-level meeting went off without a hitch, giving the Rowlands unprecedented corporate access to a trillion-dollar market. But what happened next crossed a dangerous legal line, exposing how deep this operation truly ran. After the trip concluded, Amanda Thirsk allegedly handed over a highly restricted Foreign Office diplomatic cable directly to David Rowland. This classified document, intended strictly for government officials, detailed confidential, one-to-one political conversations with senior Chinese leaders, information that remains fiercely guarded from the public to this day. While British taxpayers footed a massive flight bill of over £23,000, the Rowlands walked away with priceless state secrets to fuel their private financial empire. They felt entirely invincible, operating at the highest levels of global espionage. But as their wealth skyrocketed to unimaginable heights, a secret offshore banking network in the Caribbean was being exposed, and a sudden dark scandal from the past was about to derail the entire train. A secret 40% stake hidden in a tax haven is exactly how elites ensure their names stay entirely out of the headlines. While the public looked the other way, an offshore shadow empire was running smoothly beneath the crystal-clear waters of the British Virgin Islands. Between 2007 and 2019, a highly secretive firm called Inverness Asset Management operated entirely out of public view. Reports suggest that a massive 40% ownership stake in this firm was quietly gifted to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor by the Rowland's core company, Blackfish Capital Management. This wasn't a standard business transaction, it was a direct reward for trading high-level global access. The strategy behind Inverness was incredibly calculating. The firm aggressively targeted wealthy individuals, heads of state, and foreign leaders as potential investors for a completely tax-free fund hidden away in the Cayman Islands. In one highly sensitive leaked email, the royal partner even proposed using this offshore vehicle to funnel wealthy Qatari investors into high-end property deals tied directly to his own brother, Charles. According to sources, critics were absolutely horrified when these details surfaced, calling it a prime example of elite privilege operating far outside the law. But the offshore shell companies were only a fraction of the real danger. A businessman based in the Caribbean, Lou Theodore, later came forward with a deeply unsettling claim that connected the dots of a much larger network. He alleged that the royal envoy had actually acted as the ultimate matchmaker, bringing together David Rowland and the infamous wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein to create a highly lucrative triple-threat alliance. Rumors indicate that this dark intersection of power and capital was designed to be completely flawless. But just as this global cash machine reached its peak, a single devastating photograph was leaked to the global press, threatening to drag their multi-million-dollar shadow operation straight into the light. When a single devastating photograph threatens to expose a multi-million-dollar shadow empire, the only option left is to vanish into thin air. In 2011, the global media erupted when a highly controversial image involving Virginia Giuffre hit the front pages, sending the House of York into an absolute tailspin. The public facade was completely shattered, and the royal envoy faced an immediate, highly publicized removal from his official trade role. Behind the scenes, panic took over. According to sources, Jonathan Rowland fired off an urgent, high-stakes message to his royal partner with a single piece of cold advice: disappear for a while. But they had no intention of stopping the cash flow. Instead of shutting down the operation, they decided to simply change the rules of the game. Rumors indicate that when journalists began aggressively questioning why a British trade envoy was helping open a highly secretive private bank in Luxembourg, the Rowlands quickly scrambled to cover their tracks. In a leaked March 2011 communication, Jonathan told the royal that they had successfully fed the media a cover story, claiming the visit was purely to support a British-owned business. He then added a chillingly calculated line: they just needed to reinvent the relationship to circumvent these idiots. The media and the public were viewed as nothing more than minor roadblocks to be bypassed. As the pressure mounted and official termination from the government envoy role became inevitable, the partners held one final secretive discussion on how to maintain their global influence. Insiders say they brainstormed ways for the royal partner to continue operating completely free from public accountability. Jonathan suggested that their highly lucrative commercial activities could easily continue entirely under the radar. It is claimed the royals' response was immediate, brief, and deeply telling: "I like your thinking." The public thought a scandal had ended a corrupt career, but in reality, the curtain had simply closed on a theatre production, while the real business quietly moved deeper into the dark, leaving us to wonder just how many of these offshore operations are still running smoothly to this very day. The true legacy of this partnership isn't just the millions that changed hands across borders. It's the terrifying realization of how easily public trust can be bartered behind closed doors. For years, a historic royal title was treated as a corporate commodity, unlocking guarded treasures and bypassing global laws with total impunity. The public was led to believe that a media scandal stripped this empire of its power. But as those final leaked messages prove, the system didn't break. It simply went underground, reinventing itself to slide completely under the radar. It leaves us with one haunting question. In a world where access is bought and accountability is optional, who is really pulling the strings of global wealth today? If this deep dive into the hidden machinery of the global elite opened your eyes, don't let the story stop here. There are far more secrets buried in the shadows, and we are unearthing them every single week. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and join our community of truth seekers. Because the stories the mainstream media refuses to touch are the exact ones we are exposing next. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and we'll see you in the very next video.